Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Deckman, the coordinating producer for the Annapolis Film Festival and graduate from NYU. Welcome to the Q&A for Materna, one of the feature film screening during our 9th annual film festival. I'm joined here today with director and co-writer David Gutnick. Hi, David. Thank you for joining us and congratulations on your film.
Thank you. Thank you. Very happy
So
to be here.
this film is a wild ride. It's very original and complex. Talk to us a little bit about how you and your two stars, also I should mention, helped you write this film, right?
Right.
So talk to us a little bit about the origins of the film and how you guys kind of came up with it together.
Okay. So yeah, two of the four female leads I co-wrote the film with Jade Ishet and Asol Abdulina, and the origins. Well, I was at a very sort of low. I don't even mean to put it in those terms, but I was at a vulnerable point in my life, and I was looking to be more honest and more direct and more vulnerable in my work, and I was dealing with some things, and I wanted to put those things in a film, and as truthfully as I could. And I was lucky in that I had two other people in my life, my co-writers, colleagues, Jade and Asol, who were also going through some challenging experiences and wanted to, well, I mean, I wasn't lucky that they were going through hard times. I was, you see, yeah, I told you I'm going to say a lot of stupid things, and that's one of them.
It's fun. It's
yeah, I'm prone. But yeah, they were also looking to deal with some of what they were going through in the film, and so we dramatized together some real stories, and started with very sort of intimate conversation, and that evolved into a collaborative script.
Yeah,
and,
you can.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say you can feel that with the characters, that it's
thanks.
With each of them too, especially the characters that they play as well. You can see, and even how you filmed it, just very close and personal. With the actress, I believe it was Jade or Mona. I'm sorry, Mona.
Mona is the character's name. Yeah.
Jade plays Mona. And so, did she write that for her? What she was going through specifically as an actress?
Yes. And the soul wrote, well, we co-wrote, but she was driving that story, and they went on to the one that was set in Kyrgyzstan, and so they ended up playing sort of versions of themselves on screen, and that was a really fun, that was a really interesting process, and something that I really wanted, hope to do when we started. I really wanted to work closely with actors in the writing phase, and to just work as intimately as possible throughout the process with actors. So that's
great. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, because you have your writing hat and you have your directing hat and your acting. And sometimes when you have people in both positions, especially as a director and leading the group, it's not always easy, but you guys pulled it off. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of hair, so I could fit a lot of hats.
Fit a lot of hats. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. So did you guys,
it's my dad joke of the day. I get one.
You get one. Did you all want to do 4 vignettes originally into one story, or did that just kind of come naturally as part of the process when you were all talking about your stories individually? Or how did that come about?
It's a good question. There was never any real sort of strategy to that. I think that was just to be honest, we didn't really know what we were doing when we started. It was beyond just like, we were hungry to confront and to heal and to be there for each other, and we didn't know what form or shape it would take in the end. And so, yeah, there wasn't a lot of what is the result going to look like thinking. It was, I mean, you hear the cliche all the time about the journey, not the destination, but really, I think this does apply here. Um, I really only started thinking about what this was going to look like in the edit about halfway through the shoot.
Oh wow, that's really interesting to hear because especially with the man on the subway, I'm not going to ruin it because now everybody has seen the film. This is at the end, but was that a character who kind of later on you brought in since you're
Mm.
having these four characters and he kind of ties them all together on the subway scene, or was that
Yeah,
something halfway through the shoot that you kind of realized?
it's really smart. Yeah, good call. Yeah, that is what happened. You know, it's a bit like maybe what I would imagine shooting a series or a season. Although I don't know that you'd get a green light if you didn't have it all mapped out in a Bible. But there is still a lot of improvisation and change that happens over the course of shooting of episodes. So in a way, there was something akin to that. And so yes, we did come up with some of the elements as we were shooting, such as the train.
And that's such a key and pivotal part of the movie as well. So that's just
Yeah.
the amazing part of the filmmaking process, that it's not just finished once you write the script, it's ever
Yeah.
evolving, and
It's
even in
very,
the
yeah,
edit.
iterative process.
Yeah, and I should go back to just the beginning. Your title in general is Materna, which
Right.
is talking about mothership or of being a mother, and every
Mhm.
character is either talking to their mother on the phone or working through, complications with their mother or being a mother themselves. And so, and all of those stories are kind of told through the female perspective. So
Mm.
what drew you to wanting to be able to tell those stories through a female perspective being a male?
Well, it's a good question. I've never had it posed to me quite like that, so I'm gonna try to answer as honestly as I can. So I don't know that I was, again, seeking that out uh, to work with women on stories of mothers at the start, because again, I was not thinking about what this was going to look like in the end. Jade and Soul, as far as creative partners go, were the people I felt safest with, uh, and that's why we worked together. That was sort of the first impulse for me. They had been going through some of their own things with their mothers, and one of the things about being alive is whether you are a man or a woman, you have a mother.
Mhm.
Although some people don't, I shouldn't say, but as far as I know, that's the only way to be birthed into the world. So whether you have one there for most of your life, that the concept and power of mother holds sway over your life and psychology and emotions. And so, yes, I had, the way I would say it is that there was a lot of I mean, we're all very different and our worlds are very distinct. And I don't want to whitewash over any of the differences because the differences are real, but there was also kind of, shady region in the Venn diagram for the three of us. And we we were dealing with some core fundamental issues in which our pain was shared. And I don't know, I think
No,
generally
it's
generally when you connect with somebody, when you're drawn to somebody in some form or another, whether that's creative or friendship or business or whatever it is, I think usually a relationship is birthed because uh, your pain brings you together, uh, and specifically the thought that maybe we can help fix that, we can help resolve that, we can help fix each other, um, and the relationship survives so long as that um, bond remains. Um, so yeah, I don't know if this answers your question, but
No, it
there was a
it
lot of
does,
that.
and I hope I framed it the right way. Too, it's everyone always says, "Write what you know," or when you're telling a story, why are you the person to tell that story? So I just always thought it was very interesting to have a predominantly female story told by a male, and I think that's a beautiful thing because I think too, it's always just the insight that you can bring as well to that because like you said, everyone has a mother. And you can bring what you have and the characters can bring what they have and your co-writers can bring what they have, and it's like a universal language.
Yeah, and I think I should also say, if I'm being honest, there's another way to sort of look at this, and I haven't really talked about this in any of these Q&As, but it's something I really I I experienced when I was watching the film and if you'll bear with me, because this is not exactly a formed thought. It's just
No.
something I'm like thinking aloud right now with you. So I watched the film for the first time since the before times, since on a theater because I was QCing it, and I was watching it by myself, and it was a really emotional experience. I just had a I just had a baby 10 months ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, true story. That happened. And I started making this film, and it's very much a sort of parent-child, about parent-child relationship. I made it just before I became a father, and now I'm watching it for the first time as a father. And my father actually hasn't seen the film yet, and I spent a lot of the time watching, um, sort of seeing the film from his perspective, like how's he going to feel when he sees it, and it made me very emotional, you know, and because he could, I knew he would be able to feel the kind of pain that I was in when I made it, and I grew up in a Russian immigrant family, and it's sort of in typical. I mean, I don't want to speak for all immigrant families, but in typical fashion, there is a sort of an unwritten rule about talking about your emotions. It's just not something you do. You don't talk about your feelings. You grit your teeth and you bear it. You go you get a job. Don't whine. And so I grew up with that sort of mentality, that's what it means to be a man. Uh, and so I got to a point in my life where that sort of strategy, that survival strategy, uh, failed spectacularly. And I had a little bit of a breakdown, and I was sort of in a place where it's like I got this 10,000-pound man suit that's drowning me. So it's either like me or the man suit. One of them's got to go.
Yeah, can't have both.
Can't have both. And so in a way, when I started making this, it was like, I can't even look at men.
Yeah.
Um, but the funny thing is, looking at it now, they're there. They're not present on screen. They're sort of unseen, in the invisible character. Like if there's a ghost hovering over the film, or a character, it's men. In the first story, you've got this invisible, virtual male presence. In the second one, you've got an absent father. In the third, there's this incident that's occurred off screen. This little boy, like what did this little male do? This little male. And then in the last one, there's a man has killed himself, and his presence is felt throughout. And by the end of that story, not to give too much away, you've got three generations of men bearing three generations of women bearing three generations of men, and and on the train you've got this sort of physical manifestation of all the male pathologies and toxicities in the soup of the movie. So in a very obvious way, yes, there's stories about women, but if you look closely, there's also a story and a perspective on men and male anxiety and vulnerability, male vulnerability, or the absence of, and so yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's beautiful. And there's a second thing in there too. Well, you can't have man without woman. They coexist.
right,
But there's another thing when you were just speaking that I thought of too, and you were kind of saying, you've got that 100, like 10,000 pound man suit that you got to take off, and you're at a breaking point. It's either like I'm going to survive, or I'm going to, die pretending to be something that I'm not, or holding this within.
right,
And I just thought too that each of the characters that you had in each of the vignette, they were kind of at that point in their lives at the moment that you
smart, yeah,
decided to shoot
yeah,
them. And that's
yeah, yeah.
that's a beautiful
I'm glad you
thing.
said that. That's a beautiful thought. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you've got it in the first one with, her mom, she's on the break of where is at this new project, and she's got these outside pressures. And then, she comes to this huge moment where she's pregnant and what to do. And it just continues kind of throughout. And I think the mom also in the third, Lindsay, realizing that her son is the mirror, as a reflection of her.
mm,
And it's kind of like continue to do that and have these issues
right.
or change.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think we go through these moments in our lives. I don't know how many of them, but some of them are more painful than others. When you have this way, you have coping mechanisms that have been a sort of survival strategy that have gotten you to to up to this point. But then it's like to get to the next point, or to the next level, or to the next step in your progress in your life, in your relationships, you have to kind of defrock. You have to it's like the cocoon, caterpillar, you gotta change is pain. Change is painful. And so yeah, there's usually there's some kind of critical mass where or catharsis that leads you to get to that place. But yeah,
Yeah, and without,
you
if
said it
I'm
better. You said it better. I just said it
no,
like really long-winded and unnecessarily, going around the barn too many times. But yeah, you said it.
no, you're good, you're good. And I know Jade and Nicole were coming from personal experiences and writing about that. But for the other two, for Lindsay and for Kate, kind of where did the inspiration for those vignettes in the film come from? Or
Well,
how did you come about with those? Because like the virtual reality and all that too, it's just like the opening, it brings you in, you're like, what is happening? I need to know more.
hmm right. Well, so how do I say this? So I have I love my sister, but there is, my sister was my hero. She's like my first like hero, in love. She was an actor, 7 years older, and I wanted to be cool like my sister, and that's why I'm in film. But yeah, I was exploring my relationship with my sister, not in any how do I say it? So like there's autobiography, and then there's, which is maybe sort of like a one-to-one representation between life and the work, and then there's maybe something slightly more loose. So I was exploring my relationship with my sister. Not everything that happens in that story is exactly yeah, obviously it's a hard thing for me to talk about, but yeah, I was exploring my relationship with my sister.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. So yeah, and that one is for Lindsay or for Caitlin.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I can attest to that. I understand. And Rory actually in a film, Gabriel, that was at the festival
That's right.
like 5 years ago. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I
He's the
mean,
best.
he's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I love
That
him.
was that part of the story too, really. I mean, they're also beautiful and powerful, but it's very of the time. And
Sure.
has, just within that family, we're talking about racism, we're talking about homophobia, and we're talking
Mhm.
about, Black
Right.
Lives Matter, and
Yeah.
like, even sexism. And I think, as a director too, I want to give you, kudos. It's when you have topics that important and that sensitive, it's a balancing act. And
Mhm.
is there anything that you did to equip yourself on set to make sure that you were getting the message told as how you wanted, and that it wasn't coming off, because you did a very good job of not making it seem, I don't, for lack of better words, preachy, but or that you're talking about it just because it's a hot topic. It was
Right.
relevant and important and well done.
Mhm. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think I want to be able to give a really sort of fancy answer, but it's the simple answer is all the stories, including that one, was we always tried really hard to root everything in the perspective of the main character, to keep everything as subjective as possible, and in so doing, everything else I think I hope takes care of itself, because uh, I forget who it was. Somebody said, that tragedy comes from everyone being right in a way, and a conflict between people who think that they're right and believe in what they're saying and doing. Like, um, so uh, so yeah, everybody has opinions, but everyone's trying to do right. Everyone's trying to do the right thing by their children, by the people they love. And so yeah, so there's no judgment there. I mean, I might have my own personal preferences for certain points of view, but I mean, if you decide that at the outset before, then like you said, things just come off as preachy or didactic, or then you're basically making a, I don't know, and writing. I mean, you might as well just write an essay where you put your thesis statement at the top, and then you spend the rest of your essay proving it. When a movie feels like that, I think that becomes obvious to the people who are watching it. And I mean, yeah. So I think with each of them, we tried really hard to keep everything, to keep it all about character, and everything
You
else was secondary.
Yeah, you did a great job. And you can see that with Lindsay at the beginning. She very much believes what she's saying on the phone to her brother. And then by the end, it's subtle, but just with her just sitting there with her thoughts. And then you see her going to get on the subway, and you've heard earlier that it's an hour train, and she's making that haul for her brother to
Mhm.
right any kind of wrong. And
Right.
it was beautiful. It was beautiful. There's
Even
one thing
that,
to,
even
what'd you
that.
say?
Sorry, even just like her story, and this is something we found in the edit, like starting her story with her at the table alone, and just giving her that beat. You feel like, what, like, what's wrong? Something's not right here. There is a pain. There's some kind of trauma. uh and so how did you get here? What happened? Like, there's ideally some, you lean into the character. You want, because when you see someone vulnerable, when you see somebody on their back foot in life or in a movie, whatever, our instinct is to want to see, if you see a gash, you see someone bleeding, you want to see that stitched up, you want to see it heal. If there's a mystery that hasn't been solved, you want to see it solved, you want to know. Where there's a gap, you want to see it bridged. So that's human nature. So we see her in pain, and so that is primary, that is foregrounded. and then everything else, ideally, uh, you're invested in her story from that place, from that source, from that well. You drink from that well, hopefully. But
Yeah. Well, one more thing too, I want to ask you before I forget. I remember the film opened with a quote from a Russian poet, I believe, right?
yeah.
That says, I have it right here. I wrote it down. I drink to our ruined house, to the evil of my life, to our loneliness together, and I drink to you. I thought
Mm,
that was such a cool quote to start the film off with.
thanks. Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, did that have any background for you or reasoning or just something you thought matched the overall theme of the movie?
Well, Anna Akhmatova is a I'm partial to her as a Russian American. She's one of the great poets, not just great Russian poets, um, and yeah, just a really fascinating artist. You know, she's one of the few artists that that sort of very explicitly, if not implicitly, uh, criticized the system during Stalin's time. You know, she had a couple of husbands. You know, one or two of them were killed by Stalin for similar offenses. You know, you couldn't really say bad things uh, about the Soviet Union and get away with it. So you know, but she did she defied uh, the system in her poetry and her work and in that poem, and but she survived, and more than that, she I don't know, she's a really um, just a really powerful, extraordinary artist, and then just I mean, I don't want to be too explicit about the content of the poem, but it spoke to the both the macro and the micro of the of the film, of the themes.
Well, it's beautiful. Do you have anything that the viewers should know that you're able to talk about that you're working on next?
Oh, I am currently adapting the fourth story, fourth vignette, the Kirgi one, with a soul, with
Yeah,
my Kirgi co-writer and actress, the one who won Best Actress at Tribeca
she
last
did.
year.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring that up. I
Oh
saw
yeah.
that. Amazing. You've won a bunch of awards actually already.
Aw, yeah. Well, you know, it's nice in that it helps the film and it helps gain visibility. And that was cool that she won that award. She was up against a bunch of really tremendous actors, movie stars, and this was her first feature. And you know, Kirgi immigrant, and she co-wrote it, and you know,
That's
that was
amazing.
her story that she performed. So it was really nice to see her see that acknowledged and validated. So yeah, we're co-writing a feature adaptation of that vignette.
Very cool.
I've got
Well,
something else that
hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully once you guys finish it, maybe and it's done, it can screen with us at the festival in the future.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Yes.
Well, it was so nice talking with you. Thank
You
you
too.
so much. And I won't hold it against you that you went to Columbia. I went to NYU, but I
Yeah.
just kidding. Um, but yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in to the Q&A for Materna, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.